Welcome to Season 3 of To Lose a Veil. I'm your host, Leslie. And again, I have my girls backing me up. That's Stephanie, Brianda, Jean, and Bonnie. This season, we expanded on previous topics with different guests.
What I'm trying to say is this, right? Is that that's, to me, that's part of the trap.
Yeah.
I'm a male. You're female, I'm greater, I'm stronger, right? Because I got bigger muscles and I can wrestle you down. I'm going to tell you something, man. I saw in the 80s, I saw in the 90s, I saw these three girls, right? Who had, apparently, there were three of them, who had beef with another girl, right? And they caught this girl, and two girls stood in front, and the third girl was in the back, beating the hell out of this girl, right? But the two girls who were in the front, they had a knife, and they had a stick, and they were guys, and they were like, whoever step up can get some. So what came from this feminine, creature was this woman fury, and so the best thing that we did was just, I hope she be all right at the end. So I'm saying that had to come from somewhere within this body that we're perceiving to be less than what you're being told that you are, and you're not. Change the narrative. Change the narrative. Do what James Brown said. I don't need nobody to open the door for me.
I thought you also would share about like during slave time, how women were also in the fields, but they were doing everything the men were doing.
But that was
they
different,
were
though.
as built as the men.
Right, but that was done naturally. That wasn't done not through slavery time, but before slavery. That was done naturally. It's just it's what their nurture was: cooking, cleaning, going out to the field. But the men were out there chopping wood and doing their part.
But what I want to say is that here, like, we only view that the strength of a woman when it comes to like them being forced or
right.
Or violence happening upon them. And I agree with you,
right.
In terms of like women had this power all along, and
right.
like, now we only see it when there's a crisis or when the system removes partners out of their lives, right. And they have to be resilient.
Right.
We don't get to see them, in their natural strength.
But it's there. You'll decide tomorrow you want to start a business and you want to run in a natural way and stuff like that. You got to go to this creature. They're not there to help you.
Again, that's the whole purpose of what we're trying to do here.
Yeah.
It's about everybody tapping in to the whole God that lives inside of them, reconnecting to the power, and then producing it in this world that we live in.
Right.
In order for us to be able to do that on some levels, if we do not visit the trenches of all of our hurt and our pain, it's very difficult to move into spaces where we can do bigger and better things. In today's world, what is the role of the masculine, and does it differ from what you believe the role is?
For me, in today's world, I feel like the role of the male, is to redefine the masculine or redesign it away from the patriarchal masculinity.
European patriarchal.
Okay, so the other part. Okay, so what would that role look like if you were to redesign it?
I've been seeing more men step into healing spaces, gather together, talk about racism, capitalism, white supremacy. I think that's more of that is what's needed. More than ever, we are in a spiritual warfare, especially for our minds. So men are needed to step up for their own healing, and in that the transformation of healing is going to be for everyone. Right now, we still hold a lot of power in a lot of different systems. If more of us are able to shift into that mindset of healing ourselves and holding space for our community, we'll definitely transform a lot of the pain that the world has right now.
Yeah, I was going to say the current relationship is a controlling, masculine controlling feminine. That's the current. What I would say is the work there is to do is to bring a equalness, right? But the equalness would allow for the feminine and the masculine to also lean into feminine lean into feminine and masculine lean into masculine without conflict. You said about how the role of the masculine within the Black community specifically has been turned upside down in a lot of ways. And I think when you talk about the masculine in the Black community, it's actually even more distinct from masculine as general. But in the Black community, there is I think the feminine is even more out of whack in the Black community. That Black women are almost dominating Black men as far as education, more educated, financially, more finances, ability to move into different circles. It's easier for Black women to move into other circles than Black men. Black men, we're a little too noisy. Black women, there was a Black president, but not to say there wasn't, but she's vice president, and it isn't a big deal to everybody as having a Black president, and people are throwing death threats and whatnot. Let me say it this way. They always got to be a little mixed. Now,
you play advocates.
But the thing about it is masculine, feminine has gotten unbalanced. And either way, getting it balanced is the work to be done. And for the macro picture, it's that the masculine is dominating feminine. And then within the Black community, there's a danger of it getting so out of whack that it just doesn't lead to harmonious relationships.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you see it in the divorce rate, the single parent rate, the violence, domestic violence. All of these things are symptoms of imbalance.
But that goes back to what Melvin was saying.
That's why I was saying Melvin was pointing to it.
Yeah.
And so I think it's worth separating it.
The Black male suicide rates also.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Yeah, that's crazy. Mm. And it's the organization you can change, which we're just doing right now. Our primary focus is young males from 10 to 18 years of age. And then I hear some people say, well, you're not going to have any females in there? And I say, no, not at this time. We'll have a sister program, but right now we're focusing specifically on the young male because they need guidance, they need structure, they need to know what it is to be a man, they need to have men around them, they need to know how to treat women, they need to know a whole bunch of stuff. And we find that sometimes, because of the age that they are mentally, that if you're trying to do a program with young males or a program with young females, when you have both there simultaneously and you're trying to interject a particular type of idea, it distracts them from what you're trying to get across. So it has nothing to do with, you just want to focus on the males, In a lot of ancient African, not even ancient, but in African cultures and a lot of Hispanic cultures that's not modernized, they have programs like that, where specifically for the women or the girls, specifically for the males. It had nothing to do with one being better than the other. But my point is that when we look at the suicide rate amongst, now I'm 64, I'll tell you what, I keep repeating that. The suicide rate among Black people in general, it's ridiculous. Because there was a time when we used to sit back and hear, somebody committed suicide. Oh, one of them. Because we didn't have that when we were coming up. The people who were committing suicide were mostly, somebody who lost their stocks or whatever, and they jumping out of a window. We've been so oppressed for so long, to be down and out was like normal.
Mm.
It was normal, you know. But the problem comes into play is that when you have suicide, and this was in 2022, as young as 5 years of age, what is going on in the household, in the community in general, that's causing that much stress upon a child's mind to open up them forbidden doors within their head to the point where those voices and everything else coming through and saying, listen, I feel hopeless, exit.
Some of it's social media too.
No, it is. It is, you know. So it's a lot of stuff that needs to be done. But this we live in a very poisonous environment. It is not conducive to the well-being of us. And when Marc speaks about the woman being in a position that is better than the men, it's designed that way. And it's easy to get caught up in there and say, well, yeah, I got the many degrees and this and that, and I got to go out there because I got 3 jobs to work, I got a house and everything. Well, who's watching Johnny? Who's watching Malcolm? Who's watching them? You know who's raising them? Social media.
Yeah.
They're in there hours, 10, 12 hours being trained, you know? So we got work to do. And in order for us to be successful in this, we have to step away from all of their devices. And we have to go back and look at what worked for us in the culture back then and implement that and bring it forward.
The next question is, what kind of wounds, if any, show up in the masculine energy, and how can the feminine assist in the healing process of the masculine?
Wounds. I immediately thought about heartbreak. The wounds are heartaches, heartbreaks. And right now, more than ever, we need space. Those that are by anatomic and physical design connected to masculinity are needing space. And to assist in that healing of the feminine could support by not initiating space, but, you know, I feel like more often than not, we're seeing those that express as women and womb men in healing spaces. And I think naturally, culturally, you grow up, women grow up talking to each other. You kind of get socialized to talk to each other. Mm-hmm. You're cooking, you're washing dishes, you're taking care of the kids, you're taking care of your siblings. We're always talking and sharing what emotionally is happening to you. You're processing. Men are not really doing that. We're often in action. We're often doing things. So if we're feeling something, or if we got hit with something physically, emotionally, we're often carrying that within our labor. So now more than ever, I think that what COVID has taught us with that isolation, as well as that lockdown, is that we need space to think, to process, to feel. So now more than ever, to heal these heart wounds, we need the feminine to step to the side and focus on their healing, so that masculine energy can step into that clearing. I think that pressure of you got to do this, that pressure, like you got to meet me where we're at, just adds extra weight on men, and they don't think about I need this for me, and as I do this for me, it's going to be for you too. Mm-hmm. So space is so hard to come by, especially living in a city. Mm-hmm. But we need space to hear what's there.
Interesting. Yeah. How about you, Marc?
I think what Carlos said about not speaking, that's the biggest wound. Because it's, I've got feelings and I can't talk, to anyone about them. They say construction workers have the highest rate of suicide, mostly because construction workers work alone. You have high occupational suicide in things like being a police officer, high stress things. And men in general have a higher suicide rate than women. So in the world, I think even going to be in the army, putting yourself in the battle line, all of these are part of the wounds of I have to prove myself and I got to do these kind of things to prove myself. Because, if someone comes back from war, they're battle tested. So I'm going to go throw myself in that. So I think a lot of the wound for the masculine is not being able to be whole with themselves without earning it. There's like a earning wholeness versus it's just that way. And then for how the feminine can support it is leaning into the feminine, not attacking the masculine, but nurturing the masculine, saying you can, you have earned respect, even if you don't have the same salary I have, or you don't dress as nice as, I don't know who dresses nice, but anyhow, the point is, if you don't do those things that earn it for you, you still get respect. And that would help the masculine.
That's so interesting. I mean, I like that. I mean, it does, because in a way, it helps us understand the need for us to tell you those things. I think that's something that for me, just in general, I didn't learn that until much later, that there's a need to say, oh wow, that's so good, oh wow, you look so amazing, oh wow. And it's so interesting, because I think in my youth, that's not what I was taught, or what my impressions were about that. Now, I don't know if it was because I was raised by a single mom, and so I never really saw that going on in our relationship, but it was very difficult for me to be in that space. I didn't know that. So this is good to hear. I'm just saying, because it's just reminding me that it's necessary. So how about you, Melvin?
I agree. I agree with both of the brothers. And I think, first of all, we as men cannot not love you women. And I mean that sincerely. I mean, when you're walking down the streets and your body's moving the way that it's moving, or you go to the beach, it's just beautiful. It's just, I'm not talking from a perverted perspective. I'm talking about from a male looking at the feminine aspect and seeing the creation work and going like, man, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I want to protect you. I want to serve you. But what I need for you to do is, if I'm in the mood, I don't want you to antagonize me. I don't want you to come behind me and tell me what I'm doing wrong and how I should do things better. And, you don't know what I've been through. You have no idea. I'm hurting just like you hurt. Instead, give me a moment to calm down and come and hug me. Tell me, you okay. It's going to get better. What can I help you with? This creature's been beating us up for a long time. I don't need you to beat me up as well if you're going to be my woman. That's it.
That's beautiful, Melvin. That's so beautifully put.
And can I just give you one bonus, please?
Mm-hmm.
We're now talking about, you're going to like this, because we're now talking about relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I like to say a poem, if that's possible.
Oh, you want a poem?
Yeah, can I,
Yes. Yeah, we're officially on free time now.
Okay, great. So this one is called Relationship, right? And it goes, relationship is something many people take for granted. We don't stop to think, so when we lose it, we get frantic. There is no right or wrong, usually a lack of communication. So when one sleeps too long, the other takes a vacation. Far away from you and you, yes, from me. We try to psych each other out, but hey, don't you believe it? But loneliness could take a hell of a toll on the mind, especially when you say, damn, that used to be mine. Now, for some darn reason, yes or another, they always look happier when they're with another lover. I'm not a matchmaker, nor am I a critic. But if you got a good thing going, work hard to keep it. Now, at night, you'll try to sleep up with no surprise because the tears keep flooding them thoughts in your mind. Those golden memories, those nights out of town, for a moment, turn your frown upside down. You're saying to yourself, I can make things better, but you should have thought about it when there was no stormy weather. Now there's no one to talk to, no one to hug, no one to walk with, and no one to love. No one to share your dreams with you but you, because you spend too much damn time thinking only about you. Selfish, that's a better way of saying it. You're a part of the same scale, but you'll refuse to weigh it. So where there's handcuffs, there's also a key. And if one sleeps too long, the other will lead. So get off your high horse, your ego, and get your together. Because there's always someone out there waiting to treat your love a better relationship.
Wow, thank you.
I like it.
This really has been a really, really good conversation. I want to tell you that we all appreciate your being here. Thank you so much for contributing. 2 seconds. I just wanted you to talk a little bit, Carlos, about what you do in terms of facilitating. Just a minute or two in terms of helping facilitate an introspective look from the males that you work with. Can you give us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So we do emotional release work. This work was taught to me by Esperanza Martel. She started this work in 1987, organizing with women. She was a part of the first Women's March. And she learned that even though we, I'm quoting her now, even though we were marching and we were creating change, like the women were still coming back home to abuse, and they're still navigating systems of white supremacy, oppression, patriarchy, and capitalism. So she created this model where 3 people would come together. One would be called a warrior, one an anchor, and one a guide. And the guide's role is to support the warrior in getting them to emote, feel what's in the surface, either through colors, asking them where in your body are you feeling. They may point to an area in their body. Like, does that feeling have a sound? Does that feeling have a color? Does that feeling have a movement? And as they are allowing their body to guide them, as opposed to thinking about, I think it's this color, or I think it's this emotion, we encourage them, just feel what's there. Shoot out or yell out the first word you hear when you hear these questions. So that way we are not creating a script for you, and you just are feeling. So we're holding space for the individual, and we're making those emotions bigger and louder. The first time I did this work was with Esperanza, and I sounded like a dolphin. It was this dolphin noise came out of me, and I was like, oh my God, I sound like a dolphin. This is crazy. What's going on here? And that was the first time I ever got to experience feeling it to that magnitude. I never got to feel big. Really, like last time I got to feel big, I was maybe 2 years old. So we're holding space for each other and making those feelings bigger. And then once there's nothing left, you can't give anything left, you yelled, or you cried, or you shook, or you stomped, or you punched, or you pushed, or you allowed yourself to be pulled. So then that's how we end kind of that session. The guide is asking you to breathe at first. You're taking a couple of breaths. We call them lines breath. So they look like this. You breathe in deep. You stick out your tongue. And you're kind of touching what's in the surface emotionally, energetically. Then we're asking you, what's coming up for you? And you can say, I don't know. Look at me in the eyes. What's coming up for you? We do not close our eyes. We don't go away. This is earth-based magic. So we're very present when we're doing this work. I, as the experienced facilitator now I get to kind of be a second coach. And depending on what the coach is asking, I will support them. So after the breath, we go like, what's coming up for you? Where in your body? All right, put pressure there. What's the texture? What does it feel like? What does it sound like? What does it move like? And those are the ways we get them to move bigger and bigger and bigger. And we usually say, make that bigger, until they release all the energy they need to release. Sometimes you go farther, and we have to ask you, where are you? Sometimes the people will say, I'm a little boy or I'm a little girl, or I'm with my mom. And we get to walk you back. And say, okay, you're not there anymore. Now you're here with us. So after this work is done, we get to practice, and we get to be in practice. So whenever you're feeling angry or sad, as opposed to just holding it, you get to scream. We taught you how to do a silent scream, so you don't have to scream loud in the train. But I've done a amount of screaming in the train. And right back to my book.
In New York.
I've had the opportunity to take myself out to the park and break twigs and make little holes and scream in the holes. I've never done those things by myself before, but after doing this in community, I feel courageous enough to do it on my own and be, as opposed to do. I'm used to just doing, and this work has allowed me to be. And I get to share that with other men that are looking to step into their healing.
Wow, thank you.
That's good.
That's amazing. Yeah. I do want to say one other thing about that kind of work. That is the kind of work that we need. And I like to say wholeness is found in the many mansions of God's house. And that's one aspect. And a couple of things that you said that I thought were very interesting. And because I am a massage therapist and the feelings are in the body, this is another thing that's extremely important. Yeah. Is that the feelings are stuck in the body. So actually utilizing on hands work can be another way to excavate what is going on. And you use the feeling, you use the touch, you take the breath. All those things can be done in sessions of massage also that allow for the rising and the dispersing of these energies. The other part that I think is very important is that the ability to be vulnerable is absolutely necessary. Otherwise, the work doesn't get done. And where we are today is we all need to do work. Whether some people are ready for it, some people are not. But when you come to that space, the ability to be vulnerable is what's going to escalate and carry you to some fruitions and deeper spaces. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you so much for being here today. We've had an amazing conversation, and we just want to wrap everything up and tell you to come back and see us again. So we're out. Have a good week.